Just a couple of days ago, there was a major terror attack in Cromsall, Manchester, where a terrorist armed with a car, a knife and possible explosives attacked the Jewish community. And after that attack, it was confirmed that there was 2 victims that were killed and then a third, which was the suspect. It has now been released that the police gave out misinformation that the terror suspect was actually on police bail for a rape arrest, which we will cover later on as we get updates for that. But it also was announced that one of the victims was actually and possibly shot by a police officer. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. I'm Craig, a former British soldier. So let's get into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the information that has been presented so far. I will give you my thoughts on this and I will let you take away that information and make your own opinion. I've seen a lot of comments, obviously against the police, and I totally understand that. But I want to look at it from both sides because the majority of people have never been in that situation where they've got someone in front of them armed with a knife and a possible explosive device and having to make that split-second decision on whether they're going to shoot and, you know, actually hitting the target as well and keeping sort of a good situational awareness around them. So take the information that I say. Obviously, we do still need more information to be released on this. There's a whole host of this. The weapons they're using, they need to look at the ammunition they were using. They need to look at the body cam footage, which is obviously some of the most important. But I'll just give you my thoughts on what has been released so far, and then you can go away and make your own opinion. But let's actually listen to the statement that the police made, and then we'll look at some images, some maps, and we'll sort of try and break this down.
I can indeed. We've just heard that in the last few minutes from Greater Manchester Police as they've issued that latest update that, as you rightly say there, they believe that one of the victims deceased yesterday was accidentally shot by a Greater Manchester Police armed officer as they tried to bring an end to that terrorist attack. And I've got a statement here from Chief Constable Stephen Watson, and he said the Home Office pathologist has advised that he is provisionally determined that one of the deceased victims would appear to have suffered a wound consistent with a gunshot injury. It is currently believed that the suspect, Jihad al-Shami, was not in possession of a firearm, and the only shots fired were from GMP's authorised firearm officers as they worked to prevent the offender from entering the synagogue and causing further harm to our Jewish community. It follows, therefore, that subject to further forensic examination, this injury may sadly have been sustained as a tragic and unforeseen consequence of the urgently required action taken by my officers to bring an end to bring this vicious attack to an end. We've also been advised by medical professionals that one of the 3 victims currently receiving treatment in hospital has also suffered a gunshot wound, which is mercifully not life-threatening. It's believed that both victims, so the victim still in hospital and the victim that has been deceased, were close together behind the synagogue doors as worshippers acted bravely to prevent the attacker from gaining entry. So that is the latest update from...
So as you just heard there, then it was announced that one of the victims that sadly passed away could have possibly died from a gunshot wound, and then another victim who was injured and later taken to hospital was also hit in possible crossfire by the authorised firearms officers of the Greater Manchester Police. Obviously, for a lot of people, that is extremely alarming. You know, no matter the situation, I totally understand that shouldn't happen, but we're trying to look at what the police were sort of going through and how this possibly could have happened. And then once again, go away, comment below, take away the information and give us your thoughts and obviously make your own opinion. I've worked with the police, you know, with everything that goes on in the world. The British Army don't just work abroad, okay? We do work domestically in the UK as well. We do work closely with the police. Especially when there's strikes and there's possible terrorist attacks going on and there's talks of the British Army being deployed on the streets. They work very closely with the police, and the police are extremely highly trained. They're held at extremely high level, but sometimes possible mistakes or accidents happen. But until more information is released, like body cam footage, we can only sort of speculate. But let's just have a look at what may have been going on. So I'm going to show you the synagogue quickly. We'll have a look at that. And then we'll sort of go from there, because if we have a look at this is the synagogue here. This is where the attack happened. From the images and everything I've looked at and looking at this, they had one entry point, which was here. You can see there. This is the front of the synagogue. The car basically come down Middleton Road, drove into a member of the Jewish community, and that member was then attacked. He's then entered the synagogue, and the congregants have basically barricaded themselves behind this door. And then the terror suspect was standing originally in front of those doors, trying to make their way in. Still waiting for more information. He may have attacked others and then they managed to get in, but there was one victim down here and then the rest were behind the doors where the terror suspects. So that means the police, bearing in mind, they responded, shots were fired within 7 to 8 minutes of getting the phone call. So they flew down this road, and once again, the police have only got one entry point. So they've come in here, terror suspect here. So that's where we're at in a minute. I'm going to show you a couple of images now, briefly, and I want you to basically comment below with what you see. So get ready, comment below with what you see. These are sort of the best images I could get. I'm going to show you another image now. Comment below with what you see. Ready? What did you see? Comment below. I'd be very interested to know what you just saw then. But I'm going to put this image back up. This is the view that the police officers would have had. It's not really too far of a distance, you know, 20 meters, 25 meters, if that at max, okay? They've come flying in, they've got the call, adrenaline is pumping. They've obviously got their weapon system straight out due to the nature of the call, and they would have seen the suspect. So that's roughly the view that they had. What can you see there? We can see obviously the front of the building, and you can see some doors. Can you see through doors? No, you can't. Just stay with me. Next, I didn't actually notice it in this image until I looked at it a few more times, especially when it was a little bit smaller as well. Terror suspect, that is your main point of view. You want full situational awareness around you, okay? Full situation. You want to understand what's going on around you. You want to know where your buddy is, okay? You want to know exactly where your colleague is, and you want to, you know, still sort of scanning your arcs. But when you've got a terror suspect in front of you, you've looked at him, you can possibly outline body armor. Obviously, this is behind a fence. The police officers would have had a good line of sight of this. So as you can see here, he's got body armor on for protection. He's got this little sort of white thing dangling here, possible explosive device. You can't tell exactly, but that's what it looks like. And he's got something in his hand as well. They've obviously drove in, parked up, ran into the front of the synagogue, looked at the target, tried to maintain situational awareness of what's going around them, had to make that split-second decision. What has he got on him? Is there imminent threat to life? Yes, we need to take the target out. Okay, that's the majority of how rules engagement work, okay? The police and the British Army have strict rules of engagement. They do change every now and then, but normally, if there's imminent threat to life, you can use force that is necessary and reasonable and in proportion to neutralise that target to save that life. If there's no imminent threat to life, is there anything else you can do to sort of sort that situation out? When you look at this target, this picture straight away at first, think of where the police officers were looking. We get the other image up here. Yes, did anyone spot it? You can see some of the victims who were barricading the door looking out of the window. But this is a zoomed in picture. Now look here, a little bit further back than what the police officers were. Adrenaline pumping, focused onto the target, but trying to make, keep all round situational awareness. What they would have to do as well, yes, if there's an imminent threat to life, they can obviously take the shot. But more than likely, we used to have to do it. You would have to give warning calls, okay? Say, please stop, whatever, stop what you're doing or I'll fire. Please stop what you're doing or I'll fire. Please stop what I'm doing or I'll fire. Boom, engage a target. Adrenaline pumping in the standing position. They should, bearing in mind, you could be limited on where you hit. You've looked at him, he's got a body armor on. So are you always going to aim for the body armor? No. Also, it could be an explosive device on him, which is most probably what they're thinking. So that basically takes out the chest. Are you going to be able to engage the chest? No. Leaves you a couple other body parts. More than likely the head. Depending how well they're controlling the nerves, the weapons they're using, ammunition they're using, the weather don't really make much of a difference at a short distance. But I'd love for a lot of you to go away, go onto a range and hit at a target at 25 meters standing. Bearing in mind, I know these guys do it all the time. They train, they rehearse, they train, they rehearse. They're on the ranges, they're you know, and they should be able to do it. But sometimes there's variables that can't happen. Maybe they gave a warning shot. I don't know, possibly. All I want you to do is just have a look at this and just, you know, take away the information that we have. There's their line of sight. The terror suspect's on the floor at this point because it's the best image I can get. But that's where he would have been standing in front of these doors. Would you have seen those faces there? And can you look through doors? That's my point. Should it have happened? No. They should be able to hit that target first time at such a short distance. But like I said, adrenaline pumping, not 100% sure what was going on until we sort of see the body cam footage. Was there a warning shot fire? Was he moving around? There's obviously a still image. Was he moving around quite a bit? Was he quite frantic? You know, you've got to hit a moving target standing at a little bit of range. You don't know what's going on behind the doors. You may have scanned the roof. There's no one on the roof. You've looked around the rest of the courtyard. There's no one in the courtyard. We've got one suspect. Let's engage that suspect. Chest is pretty much taken out. You can't really do that. He's either got body armor on or possible massive explosive device strapped to his chest and in front of his groin. That's the information we have so far. That's my take on it. Is it an accident? Possibly. Should it have never happened? Definitely. But it has. And it will be down to the investigation to decide why it happened and how they can resolve the issue and make sure it doesn't happen again in the future. Do just, you know, take away and have a look at this, comment below what your thoughts are and just be like, okay, actually, yeah, would I be able to hit that target if he's moving around quite frantically? I'm possibly limited to the head or legs. Yeah, that's all my take on it. Like I said, comment below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.